Hello everybody, my name is Starrapter. Welcome to the channel. This is a video I've been waiting a long time to make, and I actually played enough games to make this video this year. This is where I rank the best games that I played in 2020, and we all know how crappy 2020 was, the pandemic and everything else that came alongside of it. But I am a frontline worker, and I would come home from work at long shifts, and I would just decompress by escaping into these imaginary worlds where I could be a warrior, I could be somebody that is flying an airplane. I could be somebody that is flying a freaking starfighter. And these games really helped me get through 2020. So here we go. We're going to start off with some honorable mentions. First off is Battletoads. So this is a Microsoft game, and it's basically a reboot of the one that came out, I think, in the late 80s on the NES, I believe. It's from Rare. And what I really liked about Battletoads is just the huge amount of variety in gameplay. You would have these little speeder chases, you would have just mini games followed by beat 'em up levels. So it really just goes back in time. It transports me back to a kid playing these games on the Super Nintendo, where they are just multifaceted games. I just really got a kick out of the animation style, just a really crisp, cartoony graphics, but just overall really fun and very challenging as well. Another game I have to mention in my honorable mentions is Minecraft Dungeons. Now, Minecraft Dungeons is a game that is basically a Diablo Light, is what I would explain it as. Top down, you're going around in procedurally generated levels, you're getting loot, you are changing the way your characters behave, and in a time of a pandemic, it's a great game to play because you're able to link with your buddies. I was able to play multiplayer with some friends and go around and just wrecking little skeletons, and it does, tell you a lot. If I don't even like Minecraft, and I could get into Minecraft Dungeons. This is just a good old hack and slash, and it is a game that is evolving over time. There's going to be more levels and whatnot. I haven't gone back since, but what I will say is it was a solid game and a great game to play as a family for sure. So we're going to get into my list, my top 10 games of 2020. Starting off with number 10, I have a Star Wars game, a Star Wars VR game for the Oculus Quest 2, and this is Star Wars Tales from the Galaxy's Edge. And if you guys follow my channel, you know I'm a little bit crazy about Star Wars here. And this is one of the newer Star Wars games that has come out, obviously. And it is all in the Galaxy's Edge, which is basically that theme park from Star Wars, Disney World and Disneyland. It's in that same world on Batuu, and you're going around. It's a free motion game, which is for the first time, I think, in any kind of VR portable on the Oculus Quest 2. Well, we have Walking Dead Saints and Sinners, which is another great VR game as well. But we have Star Wars here, and you're completely immersed in this game where you're walking around as a smuggler. You can throw out remote drones. You have little puzzles you do with hand-eye coordination. You're able to fire blasters. There's a part where you play as a Jedi. So it really does feel like you just stepped into a larger world as far as Star Wars is concerned. For number 9, I have Tell Me Why from Don't Nod Studios. This is an Xbox exclusive game, and it is very much like that Life is Strange creator. So they made that kind of game. It's also like a Walking Dead. So it's more of those like quick time-esque, decision-making type of stories where there's multiple story paths. The gist of it is you play as brother and sister that are twins, and they basically are trying to figure out why their mother tried to kill them at a very young age. And it's all really awesomely set in this setting of Alaska, which we don't really see in a lot of games, and to be able to see it in that kind of fidelity, seeing everything play out, seeing the decisions that you make. It also has a lot of great social commentary because one of the characters, Tyler, is trans, so you do get to really see like that perspective of things. So I do like these story-driven games. I wish there was more of these types of games, and I think ever since The Walking Dead, I've really gotten connected to these experiences which were more cinematic, less based on gameplay, more on decision making. So there you go. That was number 9. Number 8, we have Valorant. This is a PC exclusive game, and it is meant for the hardcore gamers, essentially. This is very much a cross between Counter-Strike Global Offensive as well as Overwatch. And I was a huge fan of Overwatch. I believe it was my game of the year of 2016. I can't believe I'm saying it's been 4 years since Overwatch came out, and it still holds up, by the way. But I want to talk about Valorant, because Valorant was a game that I did not expect to sink as many hours in. It came out earlier in the year, and it really just combines the best of a tactical shooter that is so laser focused in design. alongside of heroes that are specific, and you really can see the synergies between certain characters. You know, there's healers, there's more that are support, there's more that are just high damage output. But it's one of those games where each of the maps you can take hours upon hours, dozens of hours to learn, to really hone your craft. As soon as you go around the corner, you got to know exactly where to look, because you'll be dead in about 2 seconds. No, not even 2 seconds, probably like half a second if you get shot in the head. So there's a lot of nuance to this game. There's different game modes. You know, obviously there's that plant and capture. So it really gets intense. Like, that game to me gave me those vibes of Players Unknown Battleground, you know, the first like battle royale. Like, I was getting those sweaty kind of feelings when you're the last man standing, you got two enemies, you don't know where they are. It just really builds up your adrenaline, and it is quite something. Number 7, I have Microsoft Flight Simulator. So this is a difficult one for me to place on my list because I know it's not technically a game, but what it can show is just the overall ambition of what is possible for the next years as far as gaming is concerned. So it's not really a game, like I said, you're just flying airplanes around. But the fact that the engine is built off of the Bing search engine, so it's able to optimize and put you anywhere in the world. I was able to fly over my house and pinpoint it. I was able to fly all over different landmarks, and it's just a fun way to experience the world and just to have your mind blown when you're flying over these landmarks. You're seeing your neighboring towns and seeing the rivers and seeing little cars going by and seeing it all in just the beautifully rendered environments. And man, oh man, it's something to behold. I spent like 5 hours in a training course just to figure out how to fly the planes to begin with. They have all different planes, different sizes and whatnot, and different makes, obviously. So they do all control completely different. But it was definitely something that was, needed in 2020, because it's just nice to just chill out after a hard working day and just sit there in a plane and fly over Alaska or fly over the pyramids of Egypt. You're able to go to like 32,000 or something like that, different airports around the world. It's absolutely mind-boggling how they even got this thing to work. Coming in at number 6, I have Gears Tactics. And man, oh man, talking about like switching genres for a fabled franchise. This is how you do it, guys, because you have Gears of War, which is that tactical, over-the-shoulder, cover-based shooter, and they go right over to that XCOM type of, not shooter, but XCOM type of strategy game with Gears of War. And Gears of War adds its own flavor, Gears Tactics, to that franchise, where it's able to use cover, you're able to use executions to keep yourself going, and it just feels like that DNA is there from the get-go. If you've played Gears of War, you jump into Gears Tactics, you're going to be like, oh, this feels really similar to what I've been playing for the entire Gears franchise for over 10 years. It just translates so well. I can't think of a better transition from like a games franchise like Gears of War that just goes to a completely different realm of gameplay variety. But the way they are able to do that, the way the campaign is just so solidly created, the story is so good. The amount of customization for your squad was just endless. Like, it's just fun just going through the tech trees, trying to kit out your guys' RPG style as far as like damage and what their gameplay style is like, and then kitting them out with their armor, with their weapons, trying to get their exact play style. There is RPG elements heavily in this game. And just overall, the replayability, I think, is a ton, because then you can go through and really challenge yourself after the campaign. And again, oh my gosh, this campaign is difficult. I played it on normal. If you guys are starting out with this game, I definitely recommend easy, because this game made me want to tear my hair out, but I also realized I am not a veteran player when it comes to these type of strategy games. So there you go. And we are moving into our top 5, guys. We are moving in our top 5 for my best games of 2020. Starting out number 5, we have World of Warcraft Shadowlands expansion. I've been playing this game since I was 15 years old, and here we are 15 years later, 30 years old. I'm still playing World of Warcraft. I'm still coming back whenever they have an expansion, because I'm just always curious about what's going on. I believe this is like the 8th expansion, and what I will say is this expansion is up there with the best of the best in World of Warcraft. It's up there with fans saying that, Wrath of the Lich King is the best expansion. It's up there with that. It's up there with with Legion as well. So there's a lot to really look at with this expansion. First off, the story content, going through the underworld, the afterlife of what happens when a character dies. They go to the mall and they go through all these different phases, these different zones of the afterlife, from like the idyllic like Greek-esque setting to like the war forever setting to the druid-esque becoming one with nature setting. There's so many different, even a vampire setting, there's so many different drastically looking environments to keep things fresh. And really leveling from 50 to 60 is just the tip of the iceberg, because when you get to the end game is arguably the best end game in World of Warcraft as far as the amount of content that feels like it's quality. You got this thing called the Covenant. You can choose if you want to be basically a vampire or like basically like a Greek god type of thing, and you get your own rewards and stuff through their own little temples and whatnot. And then you also have your heroics. You got just tons of different content. You actually have these things called the Torghast, which are just single player instances that procedurally change with each level. I know a lot of games are doing that, but World of Warcraft is really doing that well, because every floor you're getting different abilities that randomly change each run, and it feels like something that has been lacking from the game, because this is a massively multiplayer role-playing game, but there's a lot of people like myself that enjoy playing it kind of by themselves, just exploring things. So it's just a whole nother avenue to get gear. I haven't even tried the raid yet. I haven't even tried mythics yet. And that's saying a lot, because I dumped like 2 weeks of my time into this game, and I was happy where I ended it with the story, but there's still so much to do. And I think World of Warcraft's endgame is probably in the best state it's been in years. Going into number 4, this one is near and dear to my heart, guys. This is Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2. Yes, they are remaking Tony Hawk 1 and 2. And Tony Hawk is a life-changing game when it comes to me, guys. Like, this game I played when I was 10. After I played the game, 2 things happened. I started skateboarding, and then from skateboarding, I got into music. And I really got into music because the soundtracks were so awesome. The bands on them, I was learning to play drums to some of these songs I've listened to. And just that whole culture of life that I was into from playing a freaking video game. I'm telling you guys, like, video games can change people's lives, and this game directed to where I am now. I wouldn't be where I am now probably if I didn't play Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. Probably changed my life somehow. But that being said, this game felt like coming home after being away for years or something, because I just felt so nostalgic. Every level was exactly the same, but done in 4K. They did do a lot of changes with the game as far as the way manuals and combos work. They put some stuff in there from the games that came out further that just make it feel a little bit better. It just was a great way to revisit something from 20 years ago. It's so cool to play a game like this and just feel like it just works. After all these years, there's a lot of games that get rebooted, and sometimes they just don't feel authentic, but just seeing the way that they were able to recreate all these these levels are just so good, guys. And the way that they kept it where it's the 2-minute time limit, I love the 2-minute time limit, because it just makes you get creative with your runs. Okay, I didn't do that well last time. Let's try a different route. Let's try to do this. Let's try to get this trick down. And it adds so much variety. The customization of your character, creator character, so fun. Lots of cosmetic upgrades you can get on your guys. And then there's the multiplayer, which is a lot of fun too. Just like free skating around, just like it's like going to a skate park, And there's also that creative park, just phenomenal. I was able to kind of create my local skate park from where I live in New Jersey. So that's always a lot of fun being able to do that. And here we go. The last 3 games, the 3 best games that I played this year, guys. Starting with another Star Wars game on the list. We have Star Wars Squadrons, and this is another VR game, but it's, you don't have to play it in VR, but the way I experienced Star Wars Squadrons was with my Oculus headset with a hands-on throttle and stick, or HOTAS for short. So I was completely immersed as a starfighter pilot for the New Republic playing this game, and for the Remnant Empire playing this game. The way the single player is so constructed to the point where they do teach you how to play this multiplayer centric game through the single player, but also telling a very gripping story that bounces back and forth between the perspectives of the Empire and the New Republic. That's not something that can be easily done, but both characters, squads on either side, I felt very sympathetic to. It was neat seeing these characters intersect with each other and bring in a lot of characters into the fold, like Harrison Dula, and we got, Ray Sloan. So there's very much big story elements here. Rogue Squadron's mentioned in there. And speaking of Rogue Squadron, one of my favorite games growing up as a kid. So there's definitely elements of Rogue Squadron in here. This is more like X-Wing versus TIE Fighter, though, because all first person. And when I tell you, I just love being in that first person view, being able to just see how vulnerable a TIE fighter pilot is in this like sarcophagus that they're so bound into with their little cockpit. You're looking around, oh my gosh, all they have is a small viewport. And then you're in an X-Wing and you're able to see all around you as you're banking around. You're able to make the turn, go in here, and then fire at a TIE fighter over to the left. It's so nice to see things in that perspective, seeing your droid behind you, seeing your comrades on your wing, Red 5 checking in, whatever, Red 5 standing by. It is awesome. And this is the type of VR experiences I expect from VR being out for a couple years now, and it's looking good. The outlook is very good. The multiplayer is freaking fantastic. Playing with buddies, going after these big light cruisers, star destroyers, attacking hard points, shield generators, going down, protecting your little assault cruisers. It's just so much fun. And this is something I've always wanted for a Star Wars game, but the technology has never been there. Again, you can play this game with a controller on a flat screen, and that's good, but it'll be nothing compared to playing it the way I think it should be played, with a stick, with a throttle, and with a headset. Coming in at number 2 is a game that just wrecked me. This is Ori and the Will-o-the-Wisp. This game, man oh man, is the shining example of how to perfect a platformer. Platformers don't get better than Ori and the Will-o-the-Wisp, because the first one, Ori and the Blind Forest, really set the standard for these types of experiences. A very cinematic, drawn by the story, which is a silent film, and then you're doing Metroidvania action, and this sequel just builds that up and kicks it up a notch. And we see these characters arriving, and then we're seeing them gone, and we're seeing just the way that they're able to expand with different upgrades, sword abilities, hammer abilities, going to the places you already completed. Again, Metroidvania, you're going back, you got a new ability, let's open up this area. Oh, we found this little secret. It's that carrot on a stick where you just want to keep exploring because it just feels so good when you get these upgrades. And you see that power creep. You see yourself getting stronger and stronger. So by the end of the game, you're pulling off these double jumps, these slashes, and it just feels so freaking rewarding able to do that. And you're drawn through the story with this fantastic score that is sweeping, and it just is emotionally charged. And when you get to that finale, man oh man, I was a wreck playing that game. This is one of the most the experience I was moved the most playing a game is Ori and the Will-o-the-Wisp. Man, this thing really affected me. I'll tell you, it was something else. That games can be art. This is an example, a shining example. Yeah, video games are another thing. No, video games are art, and you look at this game, you experience this game, and that is exactly why everything is portrayed. You can just freeze anything. It's pure art, and it really does stand out from the crowd for 2020. And number 1, this is my game of the year, and this is a big, big deal because I didn't have to think very hard about this. I mean, these games are all great, but this one definitely felt like it was way ahead of the crowd, and that is Half-Life Alyx. Half-Life Alyx is a game that, unfortunately, many of you guys probably won't be able to play. That's probably why it's not in the conversation a lot for a lot of these Game of the Year awards, is because the boundaries for entry is very, very high. You have to have a computer that's, at least almost $2,000 to be able to run this thing. Plus, you have to have the headset to run the thing. So, and you have to have the room. You can't be in a very small place to play VR games. So there's 3 big barriers right there. So it's definitely something that I wish everybody could experience, because man, oh man, when I played this game, I thought this was the future of gaming. I feel like this is the next 5 years. Games are going to eventually be like this. They're going to be this immersive, where the only thing that's really holding me back was the wire that was connected from my PC to my Oculus headset. And this is so immersive, and I keep saying that, like, you pick up any object in the game, you can look at it, you throw things around, the way you solve puzzles, connecting lasers, doing all this, and having a very heavy story involved. This is the first time a VR game has really felt like it's a AAA experience. Up until this point, VR games have been, and I'll say it right now, they've been more of like next to Vader Immortal, they've been kind of like a 20-minute experience that you play and you can put down. This game is not like that. I was stuck in VR. I was lost in VR for over 2 hours because I was just so immersed in the story, seeing where it would go. I mean, this thing is what, 8 to 10 hours long, I believe, like that, something like that. And it's just the environments, the way you go around, the combat. Oh my gosh, you guys do not know how on the edge. I'm not even sitting on the edge of my seat because I'm standing up playing this game, but like my heart was going crazy through the roof when I was getting to certain points where they turned into a horror game. This has some of the best elements of puzzle solving, some of the best elements of just overall action. The gunplay is fantastic. You really feel like you're in these environments where you're totally in there, and I'm getting shot and I'm almost like, oh my god, I'm getting shot in real life, because you just feel that impact almost just from the how real it feels to you. Again, this is something that I hope everybody can experience at one point. Maybe they'll make it like a port to this 5 years from now, and Oculus Quest 5 at that point, whatever it'll be, we'll be able to play that wirelessly, and that'll be such an awesome experience. Valve, they always come out with these games that push the envelope. They come out, you know, with Half-Life 2, obviously. They have Left 4 Dead 2, changed the industry. They have so many awesome games. Dota 2 changed the industry. And here we go again with this game, changing the industry, changing the way things are going forward. And that's why I have to pick this as my game of the year. I love these other games. That's why they're on the list. But nothing can really push the needle forward as much as Half-Life Alyx. And granted, I haven't played every single new game that came out this year. It's impossible. Plus, I don't have a PlayStation 4, so I can't play the different games out there that people are really toting as game of the years. But what I will say is, out of all the games I've played, this is definitely head and shoulders above the rest of the crowd. And finishing up, I do want to do a little shout out, a little MVP of the year, and that would go to Game Pass Ultimate. Now, you guys probably have seen me talk about this a lot. No, I'm not getting paid by Microsoft to talk about Game Pass Ultimate again. But no, Game Pass Ultimate, 3 of the games on this list are part of Game Pass Ultimate. Ori Will of the Wisps, Gears Tactics, Microsoft Flight Simulator, and tell me why. Oh, sorry, 4 games. And that's not to mention that Battletoads and Minecraft Dungeons, my honorable mentions, were on there. So, yes, and that's not to mention the other 7 games that were from previous years that I played through Game Pass in this last year. I played 20 games this last year, and I would say I saved a couple $100 just from having Microsoft Game Pass Ultimate. So I'm able to play these games on my PC. I'm able to play these games on my Xbox Series S and my Xbox One before I had the Series S, and even actually on my Android. If you have a good enough signal, you can play games on your Android now. It's freaking crazy. So thanks to, you know, Xbox for really going out of what people would expect to have a service like that to get me to play games that I would have never expected to play, that I would have never spent the money on to play. Like, tell me why. A great game, probably would have never bought it. And things like Minecraft Dungeons, probably would have never played it. There's a lot of games out there that are able to be shown off to the mass audience, which is what the developers all want. They want people to see and play their games, as many people as they can without any boundaries. And for this to actually have such a reach to everybody out there, if you guys have an Xbox, if you guys have even a PC, I highly recommend Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. So now I'm going to turn it over to you guys. What was your favorite game of the year? What were some games that really resonated with you through 2020? There were so many games, and I'm just so thankful that we have games as a way to just relieve stress, as a way to communicate with each other through multiplayer, especially in times like this, which is super important. Let's talk about it all in the comment section down below. For more on video games, you can check out the rest of my content on the channel, and make sure you do subscribe to the channel so you never miss out on any of that content. That's gonna do it for me, Starrapter. Thank you so much for watching, and bye-bye. Thanks for checking out the video. Please hit that thumbs up symbol. It helps me know that I'm making content that you guys enjoy. And if you enjoyed this video, I also include 2 videos down below you guys should check out. And please consider subscribing to this channel. It helps support me, and it notifies you guys of when I get new videos up on the channel. You can also contact me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Starrapter.